Hit record. Hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday Notary Titans on Tuesday, January 28th, 2020. My name is Bill Soroka. I'm the founder of NotaryCoach.com and the Sign and Thrive Notary Training Course and Community. I'm here with our co-host, Carol Ray, founder of Notary to Pro. Carol, thank you so much for being here, and I'm so glad you're feeling better.
Yes, me too.
And I don't think Laura's quite on yet. So Laura Biewer is our other co-host. She's the founder of CoachMeLaura.com. Carol, what are you excited about besides being over that cough?
Yeah, well, that's a big deal. We've been really sick. Bill had pneumonia. It went into the cough, and it's been like a chorus here, 24/7, all of us. So I hope that isn't happening to anybody else because it's really been awful. Let's see, what am I excited about? I'm excited because we're gathering up all the stuff that we're going to be doing for the primetime thing. I think it's going to be fun. I'm excited because Saturday, Ronnie Mickle from Unlimited Ink and I are doing something that he wanted to talk about, and it's called Neticate. Instead of Medicaid. It's about not Medicare. What do you do it when you're? Now my mind has gone blank. About etiquette, only it's netiquette. He has a lot to say about that and the quality that you need to put over and things you need to do. And let's see what else. I guess that's about all. We're making some changes with Notary to Pro. I am excited that my daughter, Lori, who is living with us, and she's going back to being a signing agent, is now helping me in my business. And between both Barbara and Lori, they're relieving my time so that I spend most of my time mentoring, which I love.
Yeah, that's awesome. So glad to hear that. Love it. And I want to just share too, there's in the link that I sent out for all the questions. And by the way, guys, thank you for all the questions. There's some really good ones, some different ones that are way different than we normally talk about. So I'm excited for those. But I also asked some of our viewers what they're excited about here. So I just want to touch on that a little bit as we go through that. I've forgotten to do that the last few weeks. So in the way this translates, I don't know who sent it, but we've got somebody who's securing space for a business event. They love seeing TNT. It's like being a part of a big family. So the feeling is totally mutual. I think Carol, Laura, and I both really look forward to Tuesdays. So thank you for being here. Another one says, I'm excited about the new year and all the opportunities that will come to us all. Just be on the watch. Be looking forward to you and will be rewarded. Oh, I love this one. I have my CRM up and running in 3 training sessions this week. I'm glad I have the opportunity to participate in this while I'm slow. I love that you are taking advantage of the time that you have. If you're not busy, be learning, be marketing, always be advancing your business. But what I love about that is the CRM, guys, a customer relationship management tool. That's usually just a software program that allows you to stay in touch with people and keep yourself top of mind by delivering valuable content, and offering your services whenever people need them. So that's great. You're going to be hearing a lot about that from me, especially in 2020. All right, for me, I'm excited about CRM. I'm working on a CRM tool. Real excited about that coming out. Should be coming out in the next month or two. So I am super excited about that and everything else. It's been a great start to 2020. Laura, are you with us yet? Laura Biewer.
She is there. I don't know. Unmute you.
Hear me now?
Oh, there you are.
All right, so hold on. I have my phone on because I didn't know if you would hear me on the laptop.
Ah, gotcha. So we can hear you, but we just can't see you.
Can't see me?
I can see her.
But it doesn't, the Zoom doesn't work with her call-in technology, so it doesn't bring her face forward.
Oh.
So no problem. At least you're here and we've got your wisdom. And if you change your mind and you want to use your laptop instead of the phone, that's totally fine as well.
Okay.
Let's get started.
Okay.
Let's see, is there anybody live on the call? Like I already saw one raised hand. So we're going to start with those who are live on the call right now. If you have some questions, challenges, major wins that you'd like to ask or share, this is the time to do so. Just raise your hand or there you go, Laura. Now I can see you. All right, anybody else? Dita, how's it going? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
There we go. Okay. I had one of those interesting signings last night. I guess everyone has them. It was an older gentleman, a refi. He had a good friend that showed up, and it occurred to me that I thought, maybe this guy has power of attorney. Again, I know it's not my place to ask or have them prove that. In any case, we were going through the signing, still at the beginning, and the friend took a look at the settlement statement and was like, "Oh, Victor, do you know that it's going to cost such and such?" And the gentleman said no, and said he didn't know anything about the loan, and that just, of course, would irk any of us, right? Like, what the heck is going on here? So, and I'd already told them I was independent and couldn't discuss the terms or anything like that of the loan. In any case, the friend said, and I had already notarized about 5 jurats at that point, and was doing what Laura's.
They had just stopped doing that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dita.
and was capturing each one of those instances in my journal, so that at the end, the person could be signing and thumbprinting as I went through the package. And
Or you just have to hang up your phone now. There you go. Sorry, Dita, go ahead.
That's okay. So in any case, we stopped the signing, and I left without getting those signatures or thumbprints in my journal. Now, I was thinking, what would Laura do? Which is, Laura writes, notes everything in her journal just to cover her butt, right? Like, this is what happened. So I'm thinking, is that going to be sufficient? Again, or should I go back or whatever? I just need whatever. Just would like some insight on that situation.
Yeah, no problem, Dita. So just to sum it up real quick for everybody listening, you had a signing, they canceled during it. So the borrower had not signed the actual journal entries that you had input because you were going through and you handle that all at the end. So
Correct.
Now you've got a bunch of line items in your journal, but no accompanying signature from the borrower. So Laura, are you set up and ready? Can you help us answer that since you're in California?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
Okay. So when I have an incomplete, I use the additional information column and I indicate what happened. Signing did not complete, notarization is not performed. And that's it. I just make a note of it. I don't try to get rid of what's there.
Right. But Laura, I had completed the some notarizations.
Will you be shredding them?
No, I actually shipped them to the lender. They with a note, and I emailed, this was, late last night again, and I said, incomplete signing, but I've shipped the what is there in case you want to re-sign it with just the.
Is it possible to get those signatures from your signer to go back?
Yeah, I could. It's about a half-hour drive.
Well, I would tell you that if it were me,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be getting those signatures because you shipped the documents, and I don't know what they're going to do with them.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I actually just checked the Secretary of State handbook, and of course it's one of those, it's not explicitly said. I knew you'd have the answer, Laura. Okay, thank you so much.
Awesome.
You're
Great
welcome.
Question, Dita. An interesting situation. Love
Yeah,
it. Thank you.
always love these interesting situations, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Plenty of those. All right. Thanks, Dita.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
John Tuckerisle. How's it going, John? I'm going to put Laura on mute real quick. Actually, there you go, mute. Just got a little background noise there, Laura. Unmute when you're ready. John, if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask your question. John Chukrakyle. I always have a hard time pronouncing your last name, John. John T. You are muted if you're talking. Let me unmute you and see if you're ready. Oh, there you go. John, are you there?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
Okay. I just, Happy New Year to everybody. Yeah, I just have one question. I ran into a situation. I've been working with the lender now probably about 4 years. But what I've been noticing lately is that I've been getting ordered that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
Okay. I've been getting ordered. There's about 221 pages, which is if I print my copy and the borrowed copy is a RAM. And I'm trying to find a way to get a little bit more. They just told me to just write an email. How will you handle that?
Hey, John, I'm not quite sure if I'm following you, but you're saying that are you printing out, it's taking about a ream of paper?
Yeah, because the order, it comes with 221 pages.
Yes.
So between the lender's copy and the borrower copy is a ream of paper.
Yeah, that's a lot of paper. That's our world. So what's your question on it?
My question is, I talked to the lender. They just told me to write the escrow office just told me to write an email and telling how much more I want. How do you handle that?
I'm sorry, John. I just don't understand the question.
I think he's
Okay,
saying
my question is, I'll tell you what my problem. My question is, I want to get paid a little bit more than what they already paying me without losing the client.
So you're just asking how you negotiate a higher fee because there's so many pages?
Yes.
Got it. Great question.
You're good.
You
You're good.
run into that a lot.
Yeah.
So you've got some great suggestions already coming in the chat window to ask for $25 more. Carol, do you have any suggestions for John on how to renegotiate or ask for a higher fee for these types of packages?
Well, I think that's abnormally huge. And I think that if you haven't figured out yet what it costs you to do the printing on this, not counting your time, but you need to know what it costs. If you can figure that out and then negotiate a fee to cover maybe just the cost of printing. You don't want to gouge them with the time it takes you to do that now. But I would suggest for that much paper, I would suggest at least $25 to $50.
Thank you.
Include the time it takes you to print all that out.
Definitely.
Thank you, Carol.
And John, this is a business, so you get to kind of play that game back and forth a little bit, especially with signing companies. If they present a signing that you just interpret as normal, mainstream, yeah, we know that it might be 150 pages, and then you accept it and you get it, and it's different than what you had originally agreed to. It's totally okay to have a conversation about what it really should look like. Just know that sometimes they might say yes, sometimes they might say no.
Okay.
But for the most part, and I think people in the chat window can probably attest, but usually signing companies, definitely escrow officers and lenders, they're pretty reasonable if you state your case and you're professional and you have the warmth in your communication. It can usually go really well. There are always exceptions to that. There's always companies that just don't seem to care, but I think those are few and far between. For the most part, the people who own these companies are just like you and I were, and they grew and they grew and they grew, and they're just entrepreneurs and they want to do the right thing. They want to help other mobile notaries and loan signing agents, so they can be reasonable with their negotiations.
Well, thank you, Bill.
You bet, John. Thanks for asking. Judy Lansky, sorry. You want to unmute and ask your question?
Yes, hi. My question is regarding IDs. And I was at a VA refinance and I asked for 2 IDs. And one was the New Jersey driver's license, and the other I assumed would be his military ID, but he didn't have that, didn't know where it was. So what he did, and I've been panicking ever since I accepted it, is he gave me another license from Arizona. So I went ahead and recorded it, but with great trepidation. Neither was expired. They were both valid. But I had moved from several different states, and every time I moved, I had to surrender my license to get the license of the state where I lived. So I never heard back from, from the signing agency, so I'm assuming that everything is okay, but I don't think that's correct. Is it to have 2 licenses?
That's a great question. And I'll just share with you that Arizona in particular, I only know that because I'm here, but we stopped that surrender policy. So we no longer have to surrender. So that would throw me through a loop too. Yep. So excellent observation. Laura, I'd love to volley this over to you. What's your take on this?
Well, Arizona in particular, you answered because you're there, they don't surrender it. Not all states require surrender. And so somebody could have more than one ID when they've moved from one state to another. So it doesn't mean there's something nefarious going on or criminal going on. In California, you will have to do that to surrender. What they do actually, instead of surrendering it, they punch a hole in it and it invalidates it. So if there was a hole punch in the card, a state might use that method to invalidate the card rather than making you give up the card.
Okay, I tried Googling and I saw a policeman's answer and he said, no, you can't, and that it could lead to a fine. So I was hoping that I wasn't going to get this gentleman in trouble for having accepted that as a second ID. I don't think I'll ever do it again. I'll ask for some other ID. But you're saying that you think it possibly it could be okay?
I absolutely believe it can be okay.
Yeah,
because I've seen it. I mean, Arizona is one example, but there's other states as well. Not all states make you surrender it.
Okay.
So the reality is you've got 2 primary forms of ID. So really the only challenge that I think that you might have is those situations, and Laura, maybe you can even speak to this, is there are some lenders who will only accept one form of primary identification and they require in the secondary form that it be one of those types of secondary form and not a primary form.
Oh.
So a driver's license or an ID is a primary form. So they might have, there's very few of those that I've run into, but they are out there. Laura, didn't you have an interesting story about that or a situation?
Yeah, but I just can't recall it at the moment. But what I will tell you is I do agree that there can be a lender that says, look, it needs to come from the right category. But I will say I've used a driver's license and a passport, both are primaries, and they were acceptable.
Yep, that's usually how.
I had an interesting situation that I've shared before that maybe a lot of people hadn't heard this with regard to Arizona driver's license. When Bill and I went to a home and there was 2 women there and I'm sitting there waiting for the husband to come in to sign, and I asked the woman, is your husband coming in? It turned out it was the other woman at the table. She had recently had a sex change and I wasn't quite sure how to ask Judy. Her mouth just opened really wide. And, but I asked her because we were in a situation, it was Saturday, we couldn't get a hold of anybody. And I had the driver's license with the woman's name. She had changed the license. It was valid. It was current. And I just didn't know how to handle it at this point. And I asked her if she had happened to have the Arizona driver's license that had not yet expired with the husband's name, the him name. And sure enough, she went up, she got it. We were able to let her sign as the husband, and then did an AKA, and it all passed. It flew. Luckily, she had 2 driver's licenses, same state, and both of them were current. That's probably the most unusual one I've ever seen.
Oh, I don't know, Carol. You've seen some unusual things. Unusual things. Melissa, I don't have your last name, but you have your hand up. Would you like to unmute and ask?
Yes, can you hear me?
Hey, Melissa, sure can.
Okay, quick question. I did call Laura on this yesterday, but I have another question in regards to attorney in fact. And that is on the acknowledgement. When you're filling out the acknowledgement, and the individual, say John Doe, signed his name, and then he also signed for Jane Doe as attorney in fact. How do you fill out the acknowledgement? Do you put both of their names or just John Doe?
You're only recognizing the signature of one party, not two, when they're signing as an attorney. In fact, you're only recognizing and identifying the one person name who is signing as the attorney. In fact, the other person is not actually appearing before you, so there's no acknowledgement for them.
Okay, and that's even if if he and her name are both on the loan in the case of like a refinance or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anytime, you've got to keep in mind what a power of attorney is. It's the ability for one person to sign for another person who is not there for whatever reason, whether they're ill or in another state or whatever. So the only person that you can identify is the person that's signing in front of you.
Okay, and so if they already have her name pre-printed in the acknowledgement area, do I just cross a line through that and initial, since it's
Sign
just?
it. Exactly. You
I'm
smart
sorry.
cookie.
Now,
Okay.
well, there's that question though, like what exactly would you write? And Laura or Carol, maybe you can ask, what would you, and Melissa, are you in California?
Yes, I am.
So let's clarify it's for California, because then we have the representation factor in there. So what exactly would she write in the notary acknowledgement, or somebody else would write? If John Doe was signing for John Doe and Jane Doe, what would she write in the acknowledgement?
She'd only write John Doe. And no representation, because we can't certify representative capacity in California.
Yep.
Now in the journal, that's different. He'll be signing several times, but in the acknowledgement, we won't include her or his representation.
Okay.
And for states and for all the other states and people listening, Laura, would you mind going into a little more detail about what happens if you're not in California, where you can handle the representative capacity?
Well, then they could have their name by so-and-so's name as attorney in fact for whoever they're doing it for. So I think all the other states can do representative capacity except for California. I think we're the only ones.
Exactly. So that's why I want to just clarify. So it's for all the other states, it would be John Doe and John Doe,
so, right.
Jane Doe or John Doe as Jane Doe as attorney in fact.
Right.
In that. Too much coffee. Is that clear on that one, Melissa? Did that help?
Yes, that did. Thank you very much.
All right, you got it. Thank you. Great question.
Can I just add to Melissa, since she's California, is that if you happen to be using the NNA style certificate forms, at the very bottom, it has a place to put capacity claimed by the signer. And so that's where she could put John Doe, who is representing the other signer not there, as attorney in fact. So there's a place at the bottom there that would give some more clarity to that signing.
Okay, perfect. I do see that. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's awesome. Thank you. Bob Ryberg, you got a question for us. You want to unmute and ask?
Yeah. No.
Hey, Bob.
So what are all your thoughts on circling and crossing out the pronouns on the certificate?
All right, let's start. Let's get all three opinions. Carol Ray, what are your opinions on that?
I've stopped instructing my students to do that because of this whole gender thing, and so many of the states are just not recognizing that anymore as a necessity, and I'm so glad.
Laura, what do you say?
So I will tell you that the law does not require nor prohibit notaries from circling and striking, and my recommendation and opinion is don't do it. And again, because of gender issues today, it's not what it used to be. And there aren't all the appropriate options for us. So avoid it.
And I am in complete agreement. for a different reason. That all makes logical sense. The way I learned to do this work was by severe OCD escrow officers that love a clean piece of paper. So when I first started, I would fill those in thinking I had to do that. And it looked like like I had failed a test or something. It was so messy. So they racked the ruler across my knuckles right then. And obviously call the Secretary of State and get 3 different answers, but that's not an expectation in Arizona. I know you're in Arizona. In most other states, I haven't heard of anything. All I've heard is that the lenders will sometimes send it back. I had one student share that a county rejected a recordable document because they did not use it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a possibility, but it's so few and far between. I think the overall opinion here is that we just shouldn't do it.
I might suggest that you call the county recorder's office too. If you're working in one county exclusively, let's say Los Angeles County, which is huge, San Diego County, call the county clerk's office. They'll tell you. They're the ones that reject it or accept it. So that might be a thought.
Great question, Bob. Yeah, thank you. Hey, Sheila, got a question for us? Would you like to unmute? Sheila, going once?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm here. I had a question about when a borrower signs and there's an FKA, do they sign the FKA?
Great question. So let's get an opinion on this one, because I know it changes, but Carol, what's your suggestion to your students on this?
I think I've had them go ahead and do it, have them sign it with the FKA.
Laura, what do you say?
Yeah, I would include it. If it was under the signature line there, I'd include AKA, FKA, whatever it is.
Okay.
Yep. General rule of thumb is if it's on the signature line, there's a certain expectation, but it's hard to just give a blanket statement, because other times there might be like a paragraph under the signature and there's not the expectation to sign all of that. So the best suggestion that I found is to call the hiring company and just find out exactly how the lender might want it signed. I always ask in those situations, because that's especially on the recordable documents, because I want it to be accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Ruth, how's it going, Ruth? Want to unmute? This will be our last question, and we'll jump into the presentation.
Well, it's not really a question. It's more of adding to the military ID thing.
Yeah.
With the Internal Revenue Service forensic identification training, it's important to understand that not all military has to surrender their IDs. So, and that's in all 50 states. It's also important to look at that expiration date, because if they are active duty, a lot of times that expiration date is going to say year 9,999, and most lenders won't accept that. So keep that in mind when you are looking at that, because it looks fraudulent. And the reason they have that is if they get deployed and their license expires while they're gone, they have no way to renew it. So remember that not all military has to surrender their driver's licenses from the states, because they move so much.
Wonderful. Good to know. Thank you so much. Judy, I saw you sneak your hand up real quick. You want to ask a question real quick? Judy Coltree going once.
Yes, okay. I finally found the mute button on my phone. I back to the FKA. I did a signing, or I had a signing where the paperwork was in her maiden name. Her ID was in her maiden name, was hyphenated with her last name. But the only FKA was her first name, maiden name, FKA, first name, married name without the hyphen. And I told them, I called the signing service and said, I don't really have an ID that, can justify this name that's on the ID. So did I do wrong or right?
I'm
or
not
did
sure.
that make any sense at all?
What
Because
did you?
her driver's license was first name, her maiden name, hyphenated, married name.
Like
her
Susan Johnson Smith.
right.
Okay.
And all the paperwork was in Susan's Johnson.
Interesting. And it was hyphenated.
No, not the paperwork. The paperwork was only in the maiden name.
Right.
So I
Let's,
told him, I said, I can't, you know, even though her Social Security card said that it was her maiden name, her photo ID did not match the paperwork. So I didn't do it. And she got upset with me, but that was okay.
well, interesting challenge, and getting upset adds another element to it too. Laura, can I get your opinion on this?
Yeah, yes. So here's the deal. In most states, the requirement is called satisfactory evidence, and there may be specific cards listed or not, but satisfactory evidence begins with an absence of any suspicion that the signer is not who they claim to be. And then, of course, you would back that up with whatever the card is that you end up using. And it does not say name match. It says satisfactory evidence. Can you reasonably rely that this is the same person? And there are ways to support that. There may be supporting evidence, maybe another photo ID of a different nature that might support the names that you're looking for. So
no, she didn't have any other photo ID.
In your state, do you allow for credible witness?
If I know them and they know the borrower.
So only a credible witness that the notary knows. You can't identify the witness. You have to personally know that witness.
Right.
Then you've run out of options. Because I would go with, do you have something else? It doesn't have to be on my list of IDs, but I want supplementary evidence to support it. Oh, you can't do that? All right, let's try one or two credible witnesses. We can try it that way.
Yeah.
But then if I get past that, then I wouldn't have any further to go.
Right. And that's what I chose. Plus, when she first walked in, she says, oh, I'm a notary. And I thought, oh, good. This is going to go smooth. Haha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Notaries are the worst signers.
It's a challenge. It really is.
Oh, yeah.
It really is worse than lawyers and engineers sometimes.
Doctors, yeah.
Doctors. Okay, great questions, and thank you for sharing that scenario too. And then Judy, I remember talking to you a little bit about this too, but there was almost a condescension with that borrower too, and an anger. When anytime anybody gets angry with me because I'm trying to keep integrity with my job, I automatically fall back on my gut instinct. I'm like, nope, if you're getting that angry because I'm trying to prove who you are so somebody doesn't get a mortgage in your name on your property or transferring property, then that's a red flag to me. So I'll just let them know or handle that however I am, but I'm not afraid to walk away from those situations. What I love about this is, and what Laura brought up, is the satisfactory evidence component and our own personal judgment. And that's one thing when we're just starting out as notaries that we forget that we have. We are officers that are tasked with a specific duty. We have authority to make these decisions. If we don't feel right, if we can't get the evidence that we need to prove that this person is who they say we are, we have the power to walk away from that. Real important to realize that. Great questions, guys. We're going to jump into the presentation now. We're about halfway through. I've forgotten how to share my screen, apparently. Bear with me one second. All right. Can you guys see the presentation screen? All right, thank you. Okay, so Joan asks, I'm wondering if there's a place that the general public of borrowers or signers that we assist with their loan signings can put out reviews on loan signing agents. Is there such a place we can go to know what the public says or thinks of us as individuals? Great question, Joan. Who's answering? Is that Laura?
Well, it could be. I would say whether it's loan signing work or other work I do, Google reviews and Yelp reviews. I mean, there are other places, the BBB, Better Business Bureau, they all run reputation sites. where somebody can write about their experience with you.
Yeah, that's great for soliciting for or getting reviews from your customers in general. As far as like a clearinghouse, as a place, like a central hub or database where people could go to see all the reviews from loan signing agents, I don't know of anything like that that exists. I know there's different little companies that have their own ways of rating. The closest, actually, I don't know of any. Does anybody on here, Carol, do you know of any place where people could go to see reviews on just loan signing agents or even notaries?
No, but I can see a new business for Karen.
I would love to have that. In fact, I wish signingagent.com offered that. I wish I could see the reviews of from other signers or other hiring companies that have hired loan signing agents, but I don't think that exists. The closest I can think of is what SnapDocs does, but it's behind the scenes. You know, only hiring companies can see it, and even the notaries sometimes don't even get to see it or ever get to see it. I don't know.
I think they have something through signingorder.com, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like
that can be seen by the public. I'm not sure though. Don't count on it. But
great question, Joan. I wish we had a resource for you there, but I don't. If there's anything in the chat window, let me know. I can't see it anymore.
It's okay to beat your own chest. Get out there and let people know you.
Definitely. And always ask for reviews, guys. All right, how to generate direct business while working full-time in Northern California. Great question. Carol, you want to jump in there? And
yeah, this is a real sticky thing. In fact, I just talked to a couple of new students who do work full-time. The first thing I do, right or wrong, is I tell them, you don't need to disclose that information. You can take work. If somebody calls you and they offer you something that's at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you're not able to take it because you work full time, they don't want to keep track of your hours. So I tell them, just be quiet, tell them you're booked, and hope that they offer you something at another time that you can handle, if it's in the evening or on the weekends. You know, I try to be as ethical and honest and kind of the be yourself team of people, but sometimes you just have to avoid letting people know what you're doing every hour of the day. I think that just telling people that you're booked and given a chance to work at a time when you're able to take work, hopefully is sufficient enough for them to see who you are, get to know you, and then eventually you can let them know, look, I have a full-time job.
Yeah, I completely agree with that part of it too, especially if it's, especially if you're talking signing companies. If you're going to sign up with signing companies, that procedure or that way works really well. In fact, you'll want to sign up with as many signing companies as possible to make sure that you get signings that will occur during your available hours. But for direct business, that's where I deviate a little bit. For direct business, the expectations from the escrow officer side is usually that, hey, when I call you, I need you. There's always exceptions to this because sometimes you just hit it off, right? An escrow officer takes you under their wing. They want to help you. It's like, you'll be top of the list, but if you're not available, that's okay. I'll just roll over to my other people, and that's okay. But that's the exception to the rule. I think for the most part, escrow officers are looking for solutions. So if you're going to put all the energy, time, sometimes money into marketing and cultivating relationships, which takes a lot of time sometimes, you want to make sure that you're in a position that you can deliver the goods. So you want to, if they call, you want to either have availability or a flexible schedule so you can run out and take a signing, or have a team that you can refer them to. So whether it's just other notaries that you say, hey, I'm not available, but give them the phone numbers or a contact, or if you start a little signing company and you want to grow your business that way and make it scalable, you can do that too. So that's my take on it. Laura, any suggestions or opinions on that?
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with working full time and saying you're booked, but and because I am a pretty busy notary and teaching and hotline and other things that I do, but I agree with you, Bill. I always provide a solution. So if I can't be the person to take it, I always offer up a colleague. Now, the colleagues I offer up are people that I know are certified, experienced, just what they would get if they got me, because you need to be careful about just referring to any notary in your area. You want to make sure if you're referring work, you've met this person, you kind of have a sense of who they are, what they're about, because remember, that's a reflection on you.
Yeah, I'm an instructor of a lot of new people, as we all know, and that just doesn't work. They're brand new. They don't have a network. They don't know people. And I get the question all the time, well, I work full time, so do you think it's viable for me to just be able to get home at 5 o'clock at night and work in the evenings and on the weekends? And absolutely it is. And I've seen so many of my students go from that situation to calling me up and saying, I quit my job today and I am now full time. But in the meantime, I just advise them to say, I'm sorry, I'm booked. I'd love to work with you. Give me a call another time. That's all.
Absolutely. And no matter what, don't tell them a story about how you got to drop your kids off or you got to change your uniform. You're booked. You're that good. You're a professional. You are in demand. Whether those demands are coming from your family or your current 8 to 5 job, you are in demand. So you just tell them that you're booked and offer an alternative signing. Hey, I can't be there at 4. I'm already booked, but I could be there by 6. Does that work for you? Always change. In that regard, you can get totally outside the box and creative on this. Excellent. And Judy, the pens across my bookshelf, that just keeps the pigeons off so they don't fly in here. Now that's my grandfather's pen collection. Apparently obsession with pens runs in the family. And Kathy is yelling at us right now. Hi, Laura, how do I get a sweater like yours? Can you buy them from the NNA? Are there colors too?
No. You have to be an instructor or an employee of the NNA. And what these really were purchased for were conference. So you could identify us at conference. But I can also use mine when I'm teaching, and today's the day I'm teaching.
Awesome. Great questions. All right, I'm going to jump back into the presentation. Here we go. Oh, I just muted you, Laura. Sorry. Oh, Bill, can you tell me what your reverse mortgage course entails? How long of a course? Exam, Cindy from California. I'll keep this real short and sweet. Certified reverse mortgage signing professional program. Super awesome. 95 plus modules. Annual certification for reverse mortgage signing. The only one like it. There is a test. If you'd like to talk about it, set up a call with me. Just go to notarycoach.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you can schedule a call with me anytime, and I can talk you through it. Plus, I, of course, have a link on the homepage at notarycoach.com that goes into extreme detail on what that is all about. Florida has just started video notarization, but there's no instruction available as how to complete this type of notarization. Does anyone have any clue as to how to do these? Bill, do you have more than one vehicle specifically for mobile notarizations? This business can seriously blank, but miles on a car in no time flat. Oh, vehicle, a literal vehicle. Okay, let's ask the first question. Laura, I know that you've been involved in a lot of the conversations in Florida regarding remote online notarization. Can you help address the first question?
Well, only a little bit. One is there are specific requirements. Secretary of State has that and includes mandated training. You already have to be a regular traditional notary. Then you get this additional approval from the Secretary of State in Florida, and I think it's a 3-hour training course that's required. In terms of the actual execution of it, I don't have very much information either because there's not a lot of information out there yet. And that's what happens sometimes. they pass a new law, they say we can start to do something, but they're not prepared to execute it. And so the notaries are at the end of the line, and we're the last to hear how to get it done, even though people are saying, yeah, we're doing that now. So in terms of the providers, which has to be an approved provider, these are things that are still being worked out. Montana is another state. There's other states that are moving forward with this because the law passed, but the statutory guidelines haven't necessarily been published.
And I think you're going to run into that probably for a couple more years or several more years maybe, but that's what happens when you're on the cutting edge of something new. There is a lot of confusion. Like if you even go to some of these states to the Secretary of State's website, they are responsible for these entire programs, and it is murky. I mean, really cloudy and unclear. They're sending you here, they're sending you here, and nobody's talking to each other. And the platforms, like Ruth is running into in Montana, you know, the platforms aren't even ready to act in some of these states. So that can be frustrating if you let it get to you. It can also be super exciting. You are on the wave of something new, and it is going to be cloudy. And in those situations, there's an opportunity to rise and to really be that beacon of light that the industry needs. I mean, look, we're all looking for someone to say, okay, this is what you do to do this. This is what you do when you do this. So there's going to be a tremendous opportunity for everybody as this unfolds.
Don't forget last week we had a trainer and the compliance manager for Notarize, which is going to be huge in this country. This is one of the first people that came up with the software. And from what I understand, each platform is going to have their own training. So whoever rises to the top in these states will be doing the training themselves. It's not going to be the states, I don't believe, that are going to be doing the training. It's going to depend on the platform and what they teach.
And we all know how the state specificity works in this. So this is going to be an adventure for
Really
everybody, I think.
interesting.
Yep. Second part of the question, Bill, do you have more than one vehicle specifically for mobile notarizations? This business can seriously put miles on a car in no time flat. Definitely not for leased cars. Okay, great. We don't talk about that very often. This is definitely not the industry for leased vehicles. They usually cap you out at like 12 or 15,000 miles per year. I can put that on sometimes in 1 month if I'm really hustling. So I do not have 2 vehicles for mobile notarizations. I just use my vehicle, and I always have. I've had a Lincoln Town Car that was a gas hog, but I loved driving it. I had a Chevy Malibu hybrid that was really good on gas mileage, but I did not enjoy driving it. I had a Hyundai Santa Fe that I loved, and now I have a Toyota 4Runner, and I love it. And it gets good gas mileage, and I can go anywhere on it anytime. But just one car. For tax purposes, do you track your mileage for your CPA or tax expert? Do you recommend miles? Great question. Laura or Carol, do you have any suggestions on this?
A good program that keeps track of everything. I say it all the time. I love Notary Assist. Some people love Notary Gadget. Try them both, see which one you like. But the exact mileage I know with Notary Assist is keeping track of what it does is you put in where you're going for your signing, you set up the signing so it's always in the system, and it will track, it takes your mileage from your home to the signing. And of course you can do both the to and the from as a tax deduction. And that's proof enough right there. It's what we always did. Bill does all our taxes. So.
Yeah, I think I totally agree, Carol. Just having a system that helps measure this, the Notary Assist, Notary Gadget, or really any bookkeeping software can help. But Notary Assist and Notary Gadget are designed just for our industry, and there's all kinds of other benefits. But tracking this is one of the big benefits of it. And the other thing is, it is a good tax professional or advisor is worth their weight in gold. If you can find somebody who can advise you on this, especially somebody who is aware of the intricacies of our industry, it pays off to know those. Laura, do you have anything to add to tax questions?
Hold on. Oh, there you go. I just want to say Mileage IQ works off your phone, and it will track your mileage for every single trip. And then you can just go back in and modify this was that, this was that. I do track my mileage because, of course, I can write off a certain percentage of my vehicle. About 60% of my vehicle is used for my business. And of course, because I track exactly the mileage, I know exactly the percentage is for business versus personal use. And then I have an extra vehicle that is for personal use only. So that's what I use for Target and running around and doing other things. My percentage that's not my business on my car is like when I drive to an NNA seminar, because I get mileage reimbursement, so I can't double dip. So I do keep very close tabs on every mile I drive on my car.
Excellent. Thank you. Great question.
Don't forget to depreciation too on your car.
Yes.
Any good accountant will know that.
And on that same line, thank you, Dita. The tax webinar, we were going to have one the last Sunday. Our guest speaker had to cancel at the very last minute. So we'll get that rescheduled. We've got another one that's also scheduled. So I'm going to do a couple of these tax webinars to look at a couple of the intricacies. And then Sue Hope from Notary Assist, she's going to do another webinar with us too to show exactly how to use her reporting in that program. That's coming up in the first week of February or so. I'll get the word out on that. So you'll know exactly how to use Notary Assist reporting and what to look for whenever you're going to your tax person. All right. And it will be recorded and replays will be available, of course. So question, I took Carol Ray's remote verify course. I received a request to do an I-9 verification from an employee. The company gave her a separate document for me to fill out and place my stamp to prove that the employee did have a notary complete the work. The form has the documents that the employees showed, and it has a spot for me to sign, and they want a stamp. Is this okay to stamp? Otherwise, how do they know I'm a notary? Or what's your take on this? They just have the notary identification form and they want a sample of her notary stamp on it.
No, we only put our notary stamp logically associated with our official signature, which is with notary wording. We're performing a notarial act. So my recommendation is that we don't put it on there. It's only supposed to be used for the purposes of notarization, not for others. The I-9 form is not notarized, it's filled out. And of course, in California, I can't do that unless I'm a bonded immigration consultant, but there are many other states where a notary can do that. And they can have your commission number and the expiration date. You can certainly provide the information from your seal to indicate, and they can validate that you're a current notary, but I would not give my stamp when I'm not notarizing.
Yeah, Carol, any opinion?
Well, we talked about this. Yeah, they called me when this happened, and I've had this happen before, where the employer types up a document that says basically, well, prove it to us, have them put their stamp on it and sign it, and of course that's not a notarized piece of paper. So no can do.
Yeah, remember that 99% of the population has no idea what a notaries do. Some of us don't even know what to do. So we can't count on other companies to know what can be done in our state and what can't be. That's our responsibility. So in these situations, I've had people write not allowed in whatever state it is. They'll just handwrite it in there and then provide their seal details. I've also had, and I have even done, where I stamp it, I strike it, I initial it, just so they can see the proof, and then I strike it out.
Somebody just mentioned in California, yeah, the Secretary of State's office in the state of California, and they're the only one I know of, calls these immigration documents. I strongly disagree. These are employment documents that are completed by any potential employee of a company, whether they be from, an American citizen or from another country. They're not immigration documents, but be that as it may, Secretary of State says California notaries are not allowed to work with the I-9s.
Good to know.
Unless they're bonded as an immigration consultant.
Then that takes separate training and a certain amount of expense.
And the training isn't for I-9 forms. The training is to be an immigration consultant to help somebody fill out any immigration form.
Excellent. Great question. If I have a felony over 20 years old, will I still be able to be a notary? Laura, I'm going to pass that over to you. Because do you know anything about the NNA's criminal background check company and how it works?
Well, are you talking about for the NSA background versus a state level notary background check? Two different things.
Yeah, let's talk about the NSA one since that's national and not state specific.
So what's the heavy emphasis on that one, besides criminal history, is your driving record. That's what stops people from getting their certification if they have a really bad driving record or they have, say, DUI, things like that, because that's a strong concern to lenders to have you, with that driving record, have people's documents in your car. I don't know specifically how old a felony needs to be before it would not be a problem. I want to say 20 years is the limit, but there is a way to get to that information. I believe it is, it might be on the SPW website, that's Signing Professionals Work Group. Well, I think it's .org, O-R-G. And that's where you'll find the code of ethics and a few other things. And I believe there's some information about what they look at in terms of your background screening.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. And Violet asked a great follow-up question to this. So how do I go about getting a background check so that I can have it to submit to the signing companies? So the National Notary Association has the main loan signing certification that most signing companies are asking for in order to work in this industry. It's $65, and with it comes the annual criminal background check. So that is probably the best place to go. So you get 2 for 1 in there. You get your certification as a loan signing agent from the NNA, and you get a criminal background check. And it usually takes about a week to get clearance on that, and it's $65.
That's what I've been recommending to all of my graduates. Not all of them feel the necessity to do that. They prefer to go someplace else. So we use a couple of others that give them a discount. But getting that background screening from the NNA and passing that exam is a really good thing because it's accepted by everybody. So that's what I suggest too. It's $65. You can't beat it.
Definitely. I've incorporated that and included it in my system. It's just, it's phase 2. You got to get that certification for $65 a year. Definitely worth it until you might not need it anymore at some point, right? If you start going escrow direct or whatever it might be. All right, guys, let's go ahead and wrap up. We got about 2 more minutes. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh.
What was that? Time flies when you're having fun. Carol, thank you so much. I'm glad you're feeling better. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. Laura, I know you're squeezing us in on the teaching day, so we really appreciate you being here. Thank you. And for all of you that are here listening, thank you for growing yourself and your business on a Tuesday. Have a great week. We will see you next week.
Bye-bye.